guys, I'm making this little video to show you how I make bows. I mean, there's a bunch of different ways to make bows. I'm just showing you my way, and I usually try to make things as simply as possible with the least amount of work. That's kind of my approach. Um, I can just show you some of the bows that I made for my products, essentially doing it this method that I'm about to show you. A little bow in this bag I made, and this whole hat is one big bow, and you can't really see it in this particularly well, but there's a big old bow in the, behind that hat, and then this hat has a bunch of little bows on it. So all of these bows are essentially created the way I'm about to show you. And again, I'm into making things as simply and easily as possible. So I essentially use cubes and planes to make my bows, and I divide each component of the bow up separately. I'm not trying to tie anything or use. I mean, these are perfectly legitimate methods. Again, I like to do things simply. I'm not trying to tie anything or use paths or anything complicated like that. I just use simple geometry. So I'm just going to start by adding a cube into my um, scene here, and I'm going to go to edit mode and go up here and go into edit mode, and I'm just going to split this cube in half with Control R to do a loop cut, and then I'm just going to delete. I'm going to go into X-ray mode. I'll delete this half of this cube, and it's just so I can mirror it, and then I can do half the work on this. Again, making things simple. So I'm back in object mode. I have my half cube selected, and I'm going to go to generate, and I'm just going to mirror it. So now I have a cube that I only have to do half the work on, and this is going to be the center of the bow, and I'm just going to go in here. I'm going to delete this face, and I'm just going to leave it like this for now. We'll circle back to it. I'm going to add another cube, and I'm going to go into edit mode so I can grab it and move it over, and I'm going to scale it on the X a little bit, and kind of look at it like this. And I'm going to go into my vertex select mode, and I'm just going to select. I went to X-ray mode, so I'm just scale these and the Y a little bit. I'm just kind of doing a rough layout at this point, and scale them in the Z a little bit. Just a rough layout of my bow. I'm going to select these. I'm just going to scale them in general. Maybe grab them in the X a little bit. So when I'm happy with that, I'm going to apply my transforms, and I'm going to go ahead, let me come out of X-ray mode, go ahead and mirror this too. Select that and mirror it. Okay, there we go. Add, modify, generate, mirror. You're going to see we're kind of getting a little blocky bow here. Okay, so I'm going to go back in here, and I'm going to actually add a loop cut. And I'm just going to bring this up a little bit because I want to make room for our little tails. I'm not sure what they're called officially. So I'm going to call this, I'm not sure what this part of the bow is called. I'm going to just call it bow. Okay, so now for the tails, I'm going to go ahead and go into object mode, and I'm going to add a plane. And there it is in the middle. I'm going to go into edit mode. The reason I'm moving these scenes in edit mode is so that the origin of my object stays put, and it's just, again, doing things as simply as possible is my approach. So I'm just going to select these two here, and looking at from the in front, I'm going to use E to extrude. There's another little leg. I'm just going to grab it. And this is your bow. You do it. I'm scaling this. I'm just kind of blocking out a bow, very simply here. And I'm again going to add a mirror modifier to this. So I have a really blocked out bow here. So now let's refine it. Well, the first thing is to go ahead and select these and add a subdivision modifier. So I'm going to go to generate subdivide surfaces, and I'm just going to hit it a 3 times. Let's try 2 for now. I'm going to do the same thing for this part. Add a subdivision surface modifier, and bring it up to level 2 for now. And again for this one, subdivision of surfaces, bring it up to level 2 for now. Okay, so now let's go and start refining this. Now, at this point, you need to decide what type of bow you want. If you look at my, you can have a flat bow like this, or you can have where the openings are at the top and bottom, or you can have kind of like a twisted bow where the openings are kind of from the side. So you need to kind of decide what flavor bow you want. In this case, I'm just going to turn off my subdivision modifier by clicking on this little monitor. I'm going to go into face select mode. I'm just going to delete this top and bottom face, just so I get that flavor bow. And again, I'm going to turn my subdivision of surfaces back on. I'm actually going to, oh, I forgot to delete that. That's why it was acting weird. Make sure, because I added that loop cut. Did I select that? Okay, I'm pressing slash just to, on my keyboard key, just to isolate this. Okay, that looks okay. And I'm thinking I may want to go ahead and delete this too. Okay, so now, turn my subdivision of surfaces back on. Collapse my mirror. Okay, that's looking okay. And here, I'm just going to add a loop cut here just to kind of flesh out the ends there. And now it's just a question of going through and kind of refining this. I know it looks kind of rough right now, but it will get better. Actually, I'm going to start with the center. I don't want it quite that wide, so I'm going to grab it on the X and just kind of narrow it a little bit. And then I might flare that out a little bit. Okay, and then I'm going to go here. And I'm just going to like play, scale and manipulate this until it kind of looks the way I want it to look. Oh, I failed to grab all of my, let's try that again. Okay, go into edit mode. Make sure I select both sides here. Scale that a little bit. Scale this a little bit. Maybe bring this down a little bit. And I think this is way too wide. All of it is way too wide. So I'm going to scale. I'm in object mode. I'm going to scale it on the Y. Just make it a little less wide. Grab this one, scale it on the Y too. Something like that. And then let's scale our little pieces here that are hanging out. Scale on the Y. And go into edit mode and just kind of make sure everything is kind of where I want it to be. Like that. Something like that. So it's starting to take shape. It still looks really rough, but that's fine. We'll get there. I'm going to go here. And I just want to go to edit mode. I just want to bring this one down on the Z so it's not poking through like that. Grab that one on the Z. Well, I guess both of these. Let me back Control Z because I want to do both sides. So grab those in the Z a little bit, and then grab these two in the Z a little bit. Okay. Gonna add a loop cut here because again it depends on how you want your bow to look, but usually I like to kind of bring this out a little bit like this. And yeah, if you want these, right now I have them coming out the bottom. If you want to come out the bottom, the back or the front, it's just the way you position things relative to each other. Okay, so at this point, I'm just going to go into object mode and shade smooth everybody. And I'm going to add a solidify modifier to everybody just so it gives me a better idea of what's going on. So before I do that, I'm going to go through and apply transforms to everything. And start from the top and just go to add, modify, generate solidify. And I'm just going to play with the thickness until I'm happy with it. Something like 1 point, let's type 1, 0.1. That looks okay. So again, at the center. I'm going to add generate a solidify and just make it the same thickness, which is zero point 0.1. And then the same for this one. Add a solidify and make it zero point 0.1. Okay, so now already it's starting to look more plausible as well here. Again, I have some adjusting to do. I'm just going to grab these and adjust these till they are kind of behaving the way I want them to be. Like that. Like that. Okay, and then, so at this point, I can look at my bow, and it's very rough, just kind of blocked out. And I'm actually going to go through and apply my modifiers at this point. So then I can manipulate this further. So I'm just going to go from the top. I have a add-on that lets me apply the modifiers all at once. So I'm just going to use that. If you don't have that modifier, it's no big deal. You just have to go through and apply these one at a time. Start from the top and work your way down. But I have this modifier, so I'm going to take advantage of it. Okay, so now all of our modifiers are applied. Now it's time to go into sculpt mode. So I'm going to go into sculpt mode. And you want to start off in object mode. If you press Control Tab, you get this wheelie thing, and it's easy to switch modes that way. So I guess starting with this part of the bow, I'm going to go into sculpt mode, and I like using E, which is elastic grip. You can turn on the names of all of your sculpting tools by clicking here and just clicking names. I find that useful. But I like to use E a lot. Some people like to use grab. And I'm just going to start shaping this bow a little bit better. Actually, before I do that, I forgot. I'm going to go ahead and up here, I'm going to turn this little mirror butterfly. I'm going to turn mirror on X and Y just so for now the two sides are the same. And you see when I do that, both sides kind of move. And I'm just going to play with my bow until I'm happy with its shape. Look at it. The other tip I have is if you go to fall off and you do projected, it will go through to the other side. I also have my mirror turned on, so that helps. So I'm just going to shape my bow. Sometimes it helps to turn off overlay so you just see the bow better. I'm not going to worry about the shading right now. I'll fix that later. So I'm just going to, again, work my bow. Then I'm going to go to object mode and select that part of my bow, go to sculpt mode, and turn off my overlays. I created a shortcut for myself by going on my overlays, right-clicking, and you can add a shortcut, and I just use the letter D just because I'm turning them on and off a lot. So that's why I can quickly turn them off. And I'm just going to, I think I still have, I want to make sure I have this selected. And then go to sculpt mode. And I'm just going to play with this, make it look a little more like actual fabric. And I may want to like kind of twist this a little bit. Definitely want to move it up. So there's one here called Pose that is nice. Where you can just grab it and kind of twist things a little bit. Like that. Make that better. Something like that. And I forgot to turn on my XY mirroring, which is fine. I'll just actually turn it off and do this side too. And kind of just twist it up. Eventually I'm going to turn those off anyway because I don't want it to be absolutely identical. So back into pose. And there. Oops, that one there. And we can twist it up. And S for smooth. Shortcut for smooth, just smooth it out a little bit. Turn off my overlay so I can get a better look at what's happening. I'm going to go into object mode and select this part of the bow. Go back into sculpt mode and just, I'm using E for elastic deformation, and it's not working because, let me go ahead and save this. I have another add-on that turns my screen red. But let me save this quickly someplace, maybe. Here we go. Bow. Let's call this folder. Try this again. Rename. I'm just going to call it bow. And stick this in here. Save. Okay. So let's see. Let's troubleshoot. Why isn't this working? Sculpt mode. E. Grab. Weird. I don't know why this isn't responding. Okay. Object mode. I have it selected. Sculpt mode. Here we go. Now it's, I'm not sure what happened there, but anyway. Let's move on. I'm going to turn off my overlays. I'm just going to refine this a little bit just until I'm happy with it. And it's kind of looks the way I want it to look. I'm zooming out so I have a kind of a better view. I'm going to look at it from all sides. I think I'm going to poof this out a little bit more here. Here's the front. Let's get it a little more poofy. The back, I tend to, since the back, actually I should have turned off my, let's see my axes. I should turn off my X because I want the back to be a little flatter. Typically I'm putting a bow on something, so I usually want the back to be flat and the front to be a little poofier. Change the size of my, I'm just going to keep working this until I'm happy. It's already looking better. So object mode, I'm going to work on the center now. Sculpt mode, turn off my overlays, it's just easier to see. I'm going to actually go into over here instead of perspective. I'm going to go to ortho, it's just easier for me to see. I can make the center look a little more realistic. You can go to the side here, and it's just, you just see her relax and, sculpt your bow the way you like it. And let's go object mode. Let's select these guys and go into sculpt mode. And now you can decide how you want the ends. You can, sometimes I put a little V in there. Sometimes I don't. I'm just gonna move this around till I'm happy with it. Don't quite like that part, so I'm going to go to object mode, select that. I'm just going to sculpt this till I like it better. Now at this point, that has the similar weird bump. I think I may want to make our little leg things longer, so I'm going to go back into sculpt mode. Just going to make my brush or thing a little bigger. I'm just going to elongate them. And elongate this one too, something like that. And when I'm happy with it, I mean, I would normally spend a lot longer kind of going back and forth and adjusting everything, but just to give you kind of a idea of the process. I don't know why this is acting weird. Hope it's not because of double geometry. I've been plagued by double geometry recently. I'm hoping it's not that. I'm just going to move these a little bit closer together and go back to my center and just kind of maybe make my circle smaller, make sure nothing is kind of sticking out where I don't want it to stick out, like that. I think I would need to fix back to object mode, so like this. I think I need to bring this up and in a little bit. Something like that. Yeah, this is definitely not to my liking. I'm just going to hide it better in there. Okay, back to object mode, back to the center. I'm just going to sculpt it a little more. And then at this point, I can choose to put some creases in here, and I may have to add some geometry for this to work, but let's try. So back to object mode, make sure I have that selected, back to sculpt mode. And I'm going to turn on my X again just to begin with. There's one called crease. You can also use draw, and you can just kind of, let me turn the strength down a little bit. just kind of draw some. Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to increase my geometry. Yeah, I have the crease. Oop, I want it to go in. You can start to add some more interest to your bow. Okay, now this is actually working at this level. If you want a little more refined creases, you could add a little subdivision of surfaces, and let's do a little bit in the center too. So object mode here, sculpt, and just use my crease tool. Turn up the strength a little bit, maybe make it a little bit smaller, and then just add some kind of clothy. Okay, why aren't you working? Object mode, sculpt. Yeah, there we go. Now it's working. Just add a little, and Blender has some cloth sculpting tools now too. But I'm just kind of doing kind of a rough, kind of basic bow here. And just add a few creases, and I'm actually going to go E just to kind of fix this. It's looking a little goofy to me. Very goofy. Let me make sure I don't have that. Increase my strength a little bit. And just kind of fix this until I'm happy with it. That looks a lot better. Let me check the other side. The other side looks okay for the most part. And I want to kind of look at this another thing, just making sure that I'm happy with these curves. And this is relatively low geometry, so you could add more geometry if you want a little more subtlety with your bow. And just making sure that nothing is sticking out, nothing's overlapping. And there you go, you have a very basic bow. But again, for these bows that I made here, I obviously spend a whole lot more time. The other thing that I just want to show you briefly, go back into modeling, sometimes I will duplicate the center and kind of turn it. And then, so you have a more of a, let me go into local here, scale it on the X a little bit and scale it up. So you have more of that look for the center. I'm not going to sculpt it out, but you can see you can kind of double that so it looks like it's going around a couple times. I have some bow here that I did that too. I think it's this last bow here. Yeah, here, this bow. That's what I did. It's just 2 loops so that I kind of massaged into place that way to create that look. And that's it. That's how you make a bow in Blender. It's, at least that's the way I make a bow in Blender. Like I said, there's many different approaches, and some people use paths and actually tie a knot, and that's completely legitimate. This is just my simple approach to making a bow. I hope this helps.